Hello gardener, and welcome to my channel. Every month I do a garden guide which gives you tons of ideas on everything you can plant right now to help keep you on track. This month's garden guide for June is all about summer survival. Remember last year's world record-breaking heat? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if we get record-breaking high temperatures again this summer. I think all gardeners, no matter where you're located, felt the effects and struggled a bit. But don't worry, I got you. I'm an expert at gardening in the heat, so this month's garden guide for June is dedicated to the best summer crops and heat-tolerant substitutions to keep the garden thriving and producing even in the middle of the high heat of summer. If you're new here, hello and welcome. My name is Jara. I've been gardening all of my life and I'm a professional seed and plant nursery. I love to share my knowledge and teach others how to garden and grow food. So you've come to the right place if you want to improve your gardening skills. Let's get into the crops you can plant right now in June. The first crop I want to talk about is beans. Traditional green beans struggle in the high heat of summer. The plants get stunted in growth and drop flowers in high heat conditions. It is better to grow heat tolerant types of beans like yard-long beans, cowpeas, southern peas, winged beans, and pigeon peas, or as my family and I call them, guandules. The most similar option to a green bean, in my opinion, is yard-long beans and the Thai soldier long bean. They are like an extra crisp and long green bean. I have a tutorial all about growing yard-long beans and another one for the Thai soldier long beans, which I will link below if you want to learn more about them. Go ahead and direct sow seeds for all of these types of beans right now in June. I was looking for a crop that I could grow in my green stock garden planters during the summer. It has to be something that can tolerate a little drought because these pockets dry out quickly in between watering. So I planted one up with the Thai soldier long beans and another with the pink eye purple hull southern peas. And just a heads up, my monthly garden guides are full of a lot of ideas. Therefore, I created a free printable PDF checklist with all of the crops I'm mentioning to help keep you on track this month in June. To get it, follow the link in the description so I can email it to you. The next crop we are going to talk about is greens. Everywhere I look, people are asking for heat tolerant green ideas because cool season greens like lettuce and spinach don't grow well in hot conditions. You can experiment with some indoor grow setups to continue growing lettuce. Otherwise, plant these heat tolerant greens in your garden this month. I have almost all of these greens growing in my garden and I sell plants for a lot of them on my website. In general, they all taste like a mild lettuce. None of them have a noticeably strong or different flavor or peppery flavor like mustards. Some of them can have a mucus type of texture, which many do not enjoy, including myself. A prime example of that is Malabar spinach. But if you harvest the leaves when they are young and small, they don't have that much mucus. So if you grow these, harvest the young tender leaves for the best flavor and texture. A lot of these are also perennial plants as long as it doesn't get too cold, and make for really beautiful edible ornamental plants that evade HOAs, like Chief Kubo's Prize South Sea salad tree, for example. Another benefit is that these types of greens have more nutrients when compared to lettuce. Katuk and moringa leaves, for example, have some of the highest amounts of plant protein by weight. If any of you have some delicious recipes that use any of these tropical greens, please comment below and share. I'm always looking for new ways to cook with them. Okay, the next crop is corn. A lot of people grow corn during the summer, but sweet corn that is grown in high heat conditions like over 90 degrees Fahrenheit struggles a little bit. First off, the stalks will be shorter than normal. For example, I grow Silver King sweet corn, which usually gets like 8 feet tall stalks with big ears of corn at harvest time. During the summer, the stalks get stunted and get like 6 feet tall. It still produces some ears of corn, but they are a little bit smaller. I grow sweet corn during the spring or fall seasons because they just do much better and they grow to full size. If you really want to grow some sweet corn, then go ahead and direct sow seeds right now. You might want to check out some of the sweet corn varieties bred by the University of Hawaii. You can Google it and find some seeds online, which grow much better in the heat. Or grow flint, dent, popcorn, or maize types of corn during the summer because they are much more heat tolerant when compared to sweet corn. This is some Mayan white maize that I just planted because it grows pretty decent even in the high heat. I plan to use the process of nixtamalization, if I said that correctly, to turn this into masa for tortillas and stuff like that. If you decide to grow corn this summer, make sure you have spinosad in stock at home because most likely you're going to get the corn earworm. I do every single time that I grow corn, and the corn earworm is a little bit tougher than other worms that I get in my garden. So I like to use spinosad instead of BT. It's just a little bit stronger and it kills the worms on contact as well. BT doesn't. So that's what I recommend. If you notice any chewed up markings on your corn leaves, immediately spray them with spinosad to knock the worm population down. If you don't take care of it soon, they can literally eat up your corn plants from the inside out overnight. Moving along, we have squash, cucumbers, and melons like cantaloupe and watermelons. I'm going to lump these three crops together because they have similar requirements to successfully grow them during the summer. You can direct sow seeds for for these crops right now in June. Just know that they catch everything, all the pests and diseases. You will have to really baby these plants if you want to get a successful harvest. The main point is to choose early maturing, heat tolerant, and disease resistant varieties. I'm going to make some recommendations. For squash, choose cultivars that are classified in one of these two groups. A lot of these grow in tropical regions of the world, so they do much better in the heat. My favorite out of all of these is Seminole pumpkins or calabaza if you're looking for something similar to a butternut squash. For something similar to zucchini, I recommend Tromboncino rampicante. I actually like it better than zucchini. These cultivars have extra tough and woody stems, so it's harder for the pests to get into them. I'm not saying you won't get any pests. They are pest resistant, not pest impossible. It's just these plants will endure a lot more before ultimately dying off. And by then, you should have harvested a decent amount. For cucumbers, don't grow the traditional market or slicer types of cucumbers, like the kind you see at the grocery store. They struggle in high heat, disease, and pest situations. Instead, choose hybrids that have a good disease resistance package, or a great heirloom option is any of the Asian cucumbers. These varieties will grow much better in the heat of summer and increase your chances of harvesting something. Cucamelons are another great option to grow during the summer. They look like miniature watermelons, but they grow very well in high heat conditions, and although they are not in the same family as cucumbers, you can pickle them to get something very similar to pickles. They grow great in small containers or greenstock garden towers, which is what I'm doing. The root system is not that big, so it will do well in the greenstock garden tower. I planted some at the top of the tower, so the vines just cascade down as they grow. Lastly, I recommend growing Indian snake cucumbers. This is a very long, light green colored melon that can be used like cucumbers. It has a very mild flavor. It does not taste like a melon at all. This is from India and tolerates a decent amount of heat. Seeds are hard to find. I will put some on my website as I harvest, process, and dry the seeds over the next few weeks. So yeah, there are a lot of heat tolerant options for cucumbers or cucumber alternatives that I hope you try growing this summer season. When it comes to melons, focus on early maturing personal size varieties. You want to grow them quick and harvest them out as soon as possible. If you grow the large size watermelons, they take much longer to be ready for harvest, which means it's sitting outside for a long time, giving more chances for pests or diseases to mess them up. Choose things like Kajari melons. They are my favorite. They originate from India, so they grow pretty well in the heat and taste just like honeydew melons. As far as watermelons, I like the personal size or early maturing types this time of year, like Moon and Stars or Sugar Baby. And some final words of wisdom when growing squash, cucumbers, and melons during the summer. Don't beat yourself up. They will get pests and diseases. They will get them no matter how good of a gardener you are. If you're a new gardener, I recommend you grow these crops in the spring and fall, so it's much easier and you don't feel discouraged. If you get powdery mildew, spray with 1 cup of hydrogen peroxide per gallon of water. If the worms are chewing them up, spray with BT or spinosad. If you don't want to constantly be checking and treating these crops during the summer, then again, grow them during the spring or fall instead. All right, let's move on with our next crop, tropical herbs. The majority of the herbs we love to cook with like Mediterranean conditions, which means warm, not extreme heat, and dry soil. Growing them in containers, grow bags, or a greenstock garden tower will help keep the soils on the dry side. But don't be surprised if you come outside and they basically evaporated overnight from the heat. So instead, plant tropical herbs like these right here. This is actually a whole bunch of Cuban oregano. I have no issues growing these through the summer. I love to make lemongrass and mint tea. I make a refreshing, color-changing blue iced lemonade with the Thai butterfly pea flowers. I'll make a video with that recipe very soon. Shampoo ginger rhizomes are grown for the liquid you squeeze out of the flower cones, which is used in bath and body products. Ginger, turmeric, and galangal are super easy to grow from root pieces purchased at the grocery store. Papalo is a really cool heat-tolerant cilantro-flavored herb that doesn't taste like soap if you're one of those people with a gene that makes cilantro taste like soap. Roselle is a big flowering bushy plant that produces calices that are typically used to make cranberry-flavored beverages and jellies, so I stuck it in this tropical herb list for that reason. I'm sure I'm missing a lot more tropical herbs, so if you know of any more, please comment below. And just a bonus tip for those of you that really love Italian sweet basil, try growing a downy mildew-resistant hybrid sweet basil. There are a lot of new downy mildew-resistant varieties that have come on the market. They grow very well despite the heat and humidity in my Florida garden. I mostly just grow heirlooms, but I experiment with a few hybrids here and there. If one is actually good, then I will tell you all about it. June is a great time to transplant or direct sow seeds for LUFFA, moringa, or edible gourds like snake beans. I would say June and July are the last months to get them in the ground to ensure you harvest before winter arrives. LUFFA takes 4 to 6 months before you start harvesting. If I plant now, I usually harvest in November, peel them all so I get to the loofah sponges inside, and I make a ton of exfoliating loofah soap bars just in time for Christmas presents. Moringa Louffa is a small tree and you want it to be a decent size before winter comes. If you struggle to grow louffa or moringa from seed, I have a few tutorials on how to get them to germinate quickly, which I will link below in the description. The snake bean gourd is a crop that thrives in the heat. It produces a very long edible gourd that tastes like a very good green bean. They're very tasty. If you love to eat okra, right now is a great time to start from seed or transplant. Okra produces a lot of food per plant without issue, even if it's extremely hot. For the home backyard gardener, I recommend these spineless varieties so you don't scratch yourself up at harvest time. Also, give each plant plenty of space. There are some dwarf cultivars that get around 3 to 4 feet tall, but the standard okra can get 6 to 8 feet tall. When it comes to peppers, I have some very specific recommendations. Sweet peppers are my favorite, but they stop growing and flowering in the high heat of summer. Except for the tropical types of sweet peppers like ají cachuca, also called ají dulce, and a Florida native pepper called datil, and there are 2 varieties of datil pepper. One is hot and one is sweet. Both grow great during the summer. I am trialing out 2 tropical sweet peppers from Cody Cove Farms called Iquitos and Cap 455. I have high hopes that they will produce a harvest of sweet peppers even in the middle of summer. If you have grown these varieties before, please share your experience in the comments below. I will also put a link to Cody Cove Farms in the description if you would like to learn more about these sweet peppers or get seeds. When it comes to sweet peppers, it is best to transplant them into the garden in spring so the plants are mature by the time summer arrives. That way they can handle the extreme heat a little bit better than a young seedling. It is too late to start some sweet peppers from seed right now, but you could transplant. I just recommend you put some shade cloth over them. If you like hot peppers, then rejoice. Those things have no problem producing in high heat. It is too late to just be starting them from seed, but you can go ahead and transplant. Next up, we have eggplants. It is too late to just get started with sowing them from seed, just like with peppers, because eggplants take like 3 months to be able to get to transplant size. You should have done this 3 months before your last spring frost date. I find that the majority of eggplants also shut down in the high heat of summer, except for some tropical eggplants, which continue to produce. I'm growing 2 varieties from Thailand. One is called Thai lavender frog, and the other is called eggplant. They produce straight through the summer. I was traveling through Thailand a few months ago and didn't know that Bangkok is the hottest urbanized city on earth. And I thought I had it bad here in Florida. So yeah, I was wandering through all of their markets getting ideas on crops I should be growing back at home, because if they can grow it there in that intense heat, I should be able to grow it here in Florida. So look at crops from Thailand as inspiration for this summer. Now let's talk about tomatoes. If your last spring frost date was in April or May, then you can transplant tomatoes now in June. They are a summer crop for you. However, if you're a hot climate gardener, tomatoes do not grow well during the summer. Once temperatures get above 90, 95 degrees Fahrenheit, they stop growing and flowering, which means you won't get any production. It is for this reason that I grow my tomatoes during the fall, winter, and spring. Right now in June, all of my tomato plants are done. I'm going to start pulling them out, and I'll probably put a cover crop in their place. I will start sowing tomato seeds indoors in July to plant in September, so soon enough I will be growing tomatoes again. You might get away with some extra tough hybrid cherry tomatoes that have a robust disease package, or try growing the Everglades tomato. Another crop that I don't mention too often is rice. Rice thrives in high heat and lots of rain, which is perfect for our rainy Florida summers. It is a great crop to plant in areas that flood, where you otherwise wouldn't be able to grow anything edible. I'm actually experimenting with a couple of Japanese rice varieties that were gifted to me from a farmer, so I'm very excited about that. If you have any rice growing tips for me, I would appreciate it if you share in the comments below. Next, we have root crops. It's way too hot to grow potatoes, but there are lots of alternatives like these right here. My favorite out of all of these crops is yucca, also known as cassava. It is mild in flavor, kind of like potatoes, but the root has more of a texture to it. You can mash it smooth like potatoes and fry it into yucca fries. The 2 tropical root crops that are the most similar to a fluffy texture like potatoes after being cooked is edible taro. Be careful, because there are a lot of ornamental types of taro that are not the edible kind. There is also malanga, also called cocoa yam, and true yams, which is called name in Spanish. These are kind of similar to potatoes too. Other root crops include jicama, which can be grown in a large container. It is a vining plant, so build some sort of a trellis for it to grow up upon. Jicama is not exactly like potatoes, but it's good in its own way. If you noticed, I put how many months it takes to harvest these crops after planting. It takes a long time, but each plant produces a lot of pounds of food. Way more pounds per plant than potatoes. If you plant now, you're not going to be harvesting until the end of fall or even next year, which means these plants will go through your winter season. These are great options for those of you with mild winters, no snow. Otherwise, the plants will die during your winter and you won't harvest anything next year. The fastest growing option from this list is sweet potatoes, which can be ready for harvest in as little as 3 months if growing in ideal conditions, so full sun, lots of water, rich soil, and fertilizer. Sweet potatoes are a great root crop option for those of you with a shorter warm season. Personally, I like to harvest sweet potatoes when they are 5 to 6 months old to ensure they are big tubers. Also, the leaves are edible, so you can add sweet potatoes to the list of heat-tolerant leafy greens too. If I had to recommend just one sweet potato cultivar, it would be Tai Nung number 64, but it's hard to find. Slips, not a lot of people sell it. Otherwise, I would choose Beauregard or the purple skin and flesh Okinawan sweet potatoes because they have high amounts of antioxidants. Boniato, also called batata, is a type of sweet potato, except it has white flesh that is more starchy than the standard sweet potato. I also put the botanical names of all of these root crops because a lot of the names are used interchangeably and it causes a lot of confusion. Use the botanical name when buying roots, slips, or plants so you know for sure what you're growing. Plant these root crops now to take advantage of the summer heat and rains so they take off and grow quickly. If you're not familiar with these root crops, go visit your local Spanish, Latin American, or Asian grocery store. Buy some and try eating them to see if you like it before planting. Next up, we have fruiting plants and trees like these right here. You can plant these outside during the month of June. These trees or plants are perennial and once established will produce so much food year after year with much less care when compared to annual crops. I divided this list into cold climate fruits and hot climate fruits. If you're a cold climate gardener, meaning it snows during your winter, plant the cold fruits. If you have mild winters like me, no snow, plant the hot fruits. Might sound weird, but it's just my way of organizing this because tropical fruits like mangoes, for example, do not like the cold. Some of these fruits like peaches, for example, have specific varieties that grow well in colder climates and other varieties that were bred to grow better in hot climates. That is why some of these appear in both lists. So do your research and make sure you select the correct cultivar for your climate. This is a Florida Hass variety of avocado, I think, and I'll be harvesting these maybe like in August or something like that, but look, they're already forming a ton of avocados. So far we've just been talking about edible crops, but flowers are just as important to bring in pollinators and beneficial insects. I recommend you direct sow seeds for heat-tolerant flowers like these right here. African blue basil and tithonia attract the most amount of bees into my garden. Marigolds attract beneficial insects and ward off worms that chew up your plants. Amaranth is a showstopper in the garden. The plants get taller than me. It also produces grain that we can eat or feed it to your chickens. If you're struggling to grow any of the crops that I mentioned, I probably have a dedicated grow guide all about it. It will teach you everything you need to know from starting the seed to harvest. If one exists, I will link it all in the description below. Right now, I am filming a video all about summer garden survival tips, just to kind of share my strategies and things that have helped me make it through the summer in my own garden. That video will be released next week, so stay tuned. I hope this video has inspired you to not give up on gardening during the summer and continue planting so you can reap a huge harvest. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.